There is no such thing as a right to peaceful protest, no matter how many douchebag anarchists or fake news sludge mongers tell you differently. Our constitutionally enumerated rights are to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. It's less than a dozen words. It's not like it's difficult to remember. But you know what those words don't mean? They don't mean you get to form an angry mob and start marauding across the city, shutting down public roadways, terrorizing the innocent, interfering with the ability of the citizenry to go about their business and live their lives. You have no right to do any of that. What you do have the right to do is go to your city council, present them an application saying my group wants to assemble in this location on this day at this time for this reason for this number of hours. Additionally, you have the right to pay a fee for the city to consider your request. And the city has the right to say, no, we're not allowing your assembly because we have concern number 1 and concern number 2, and we think those concerns legally outweigh your right to peaceable assembly. That is how democracy actually works. And you wouldn't think democracy lovers would need this explained to them, people who claim to sparkly heart the Constitution so much, but in any event, it is Wednesday, 11 June. This is Curmudgeon's Corner. From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, situated at the corner of Erudite Boulevard and Ruggedly Handsome Drive, good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner. Let's talk about the woke liturgical calendar. Because if there is something about the LA race riots of 2025 that seems slightly off, slightly out of place, you're not imagining that. It's like they're jumbling all their feast days together and not even realizing it. The way our friends on the leftist lunatic fringe normally do these things, at least this was the model they followed back in 2020, was to do all the race riots in April and May and then take a break, get all the cities smashed and burned before the start of June, because as we know, June is supposed to be gay Ramadan. June is supposed to be walled off and reserved for the exclusive use of the alphabet people. June is supposed to be the month where we festoon the whole world in ugly rainbow crap and force straight people to prostrate themselves before the altar of the freaky gay sex god, who I'm pretty sure looks like Rick James. But 5 years ago, as I'm sure you will recall, the race riots and all the associated arson and looting and murder took place almost exclusively in April and May and August and September. But when you get to June, all we had in June was the Chaz Chop thing in Seattle, which was fun to watch, don't get me wrong. I mean, they were only less than 72 hours into their 1,000-year collectivist utopia by the time some SoundCloud rapper had declared himself dictator for life and had his gun-toting goons patrolling the streets collecting protection money, but I guess it was a great little bite-sized object lesson in how communism always works out in the end. Meanwhile, the denizens of the breakaway republic, the Chaz Chopians, if you will, they were issuing desperate pleas to the outside world to send in soy and cigarettes. You know, just like in Gaza and the West Bank. What, you guys can't grow soybeans and tobacco in your little freaking community garden? Meanwhile, the mayor of Seattle, the execrable idiot Jenny Durkin, was on CNN looking thoroughly confused, throwing up her hands, saying, in effect, I've got no idea how to do my job or to handle this situation. I'm just kind of hoping it peters out on its own, so summer of love, baby. I guess she thought maybe if she tried to dress the terrorist anarchy up in the clothes of the 60s hippie movement that maybe it would end up not ending in a big bloody massacre, which I guess it pretty much did. I think only around half a dozen people wound up getting shot to death, which, full disclosure, that's way fewer than this reporter was expecting. But the point being, when the idiot Mayor Durkin blurted out her famous Summer of Love line, and when it quite rightly entered into legend, I think that has caused many people to retroactively misremember the sequence of events in 2020, and full disclosure, I've been guilty of contributing to that because it is a really easy shorthand to refer to the whole sordid affair as the 2020 George Floyd Summer of Love, and so I have done that from time to time, even though it's not quite technically correct. So, when the Seattle mayor vomits out Summer of Love, what she's implicitly saying is, yeah, I know summer hasn't even started yet, but such is the extent to which I have lost control of my city that I just don't know how long this thing is going to go on. And if she had been paying attention to social media, she probably could have surmised that it would end as soon as the supply of soy milk and Marlboro Lights gave out. But the long and short of it is, Seattle was the only large-scale civil unrest that was still going on in June of 2020, and the part of the George Floyd Summer of Love that actually happened during the summer didn't kick off until August. That's when Kenosha happened, among various other things. But June, it was like a rainbow-colored island of gay tranquility amidst the roiling ocean of contrived race hatred that year. Even BLM and Antifa were mindful of not encroaching into the month of June and potentially pissing off the gays. But now, amazingly, we've got the Enchilada Intifada popping off right smack dab in the middle of Pride Month. And what can we infer from that? Well, for starters, we can infer that the decline and fall of the homosexual cultural tyranny is a real phenomenon that nobody is imagining. The alphabet people just don't have the same kind of power and influence that they had a few years ago. Nobody is scared of pissing them off anymore. They overplayed their hand, they took things too far for too long, and people are tired of it now. Does it mean there has been an alarming rise in homophobia? No, it doesn't. That's just the good old Marxist revolutionary canard of permanent crisis and permanent struggle trying to reassert itself. Being sick of the cultural vandalism associated with Pride Month has nothing to do with how one views gay people or homosexuality. In the mind of the average normie, he is saying, I did everything that was asked of me. I did everything that tolerance demands. I don't have any problem with weird, freaky, gay stuff, but I would rather not think about it. I'm happy to live and let live, but still I get bombarded with this stuff constantly, so I'm done now, and you can fuck right off. That is not a tolerant man becoming an intolerant man. It's a tolerant man asserting his reasonable right to view tolerance as a two-way street. And you know what else we haven't heard since the start of the Colonizes Intifada? Something we used to hear throughout each June from the Democrats and their fake news fellow travelers alike. You remember, each time someone on the right would say or do something that could be viewed as antithetical to the mandatory observance of Rainbow Ramadan, they would moan, I can't believe that such and such person would say such and such thing during Pride Month. Baghdad Buckwheat, she was a real master at that. It might be the only thing about her that can reasonably be described as a skill if you get right down to it, and it really became, during the Biden administration, or the administration of whoever it was who was actually running the country, something close to de facto federal government policy. That no gay person or transgender or drag queen or sexually non-normative thing can ever be criticized during the month of June. Some of them used it like a rhetorical hockey stick with which they could just swat pucks out of the crease. It was really great while it lasted, I guess. And speaking of Baghdad Buckwheat, I'm glad she reemerged from hiding last week. I guess it was a good thing I put out that missing persons report on her. But man, she has put herself in a hell of a spot now, hasn't she? She has come right out and said, yeah, all those days I stood up there and assured the country that the president was in totally great shape. Not only was I lying out my ass, but I was already writing a book about what a complete physical and mental wreck he actually was. Also, I'm not a Democrat anymore. Okay, thanks, bye. But I guess on the one hand, you have to give her credit for hedging her bets, because I'm going to tell you exactly what I think happened here. In Baghdad's mind, she thought, well, the last girl who had this job, Lady Ginger McFirebush of Alabaster Farms, she got a nightly primetime show on MSNBC, so I am entitled to get that too, because I am black and gay, and she is not that and not that. But just in case MSNBC decides to be racist and not hire me, I'm going to be fully prepared to stab everybody in the back and rush out a tell-all memoir about what terrible people they all are. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for her. She's burned all of her bridges now in the media Democrat complex, put all her eggs in the basket of a book that's likely to be purchased by around 68 people. I mean, be honest. Did you ever listen to a Baghdad Buckwheat press conference and think, yes, I want to know more about the inner workings of this person's mind? Yeah, me either. Also, please vote in the comments on whether you prefer Enchilada Intifada or Carne Asada Intifada, because I can't decide which one I like better. I just know they both make me hungry. I'm done. That's all I got. See you tomorrow. Get off my lawn.